welcome to my Disney read-along reading vlog. It is currently day 1 of the Disney read-along, and it's like almost 6 o'clock at night, which isn't unusual if you've seen any of my other reading vlogs, but I'm pretty sure this reading vlog will probably be split up into at least 2 or 3 vlogs throughout the week, depending on how much I film. You'd think now that I'm home and I'm not at work, I would have more like content to film for my reading vlogs, but for some reason I feel like I film even less than when I was vlogging when I had to like go to work every single day. Go figure with that. I haven't gotten as much reading done as I wanted to because it is also Mother's Day. So this morning I started my first book and I hosted like a whole bunch of reading sprints on Twitter for like 2.5 hours, and that was an absolute blast. But then after lunch, me and my mom just went for like a really long drive around our town and the town next to ours, because we live like way out in the countryside. So we were just like driving around looking at the nice view. So yeah, I didn't get as much reading done as I wanted to, but I'm hoping to get quite a bit done tonight. So the book I'm starting out with is Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen. This is going to work for the A Cover Is Not the Book challenge and also the Lady and the Tramp challenge. So I'm 108 pages into this book and it's about 400 pages, so I'm about a quarter of the way through this, and so far, I'm not super loving it. We're basically following our main character called Auden, I think is how you pronounce her name, and she is spending the summer with her dad and her stepmom and her like recently just born baby sister, and that's basically the premise of it. And then there's going to be a romance, which at this point I'm already 100 pages into it and not a lot of romantic things are happening. I'm pretty sure she's had like 3 or 4 encounters with the love interest, and all of them have been super brief and just really awkward, and I didn't feel any kind of romantic chemistry in any of them, so far this is really lacking in the romance department. But the thing I hate the most about this book so far is that our main character is very judgmental, and basically all of the characters in this book are kind of awful except for her stepmom, who our main character thinks is like really annoying and like overexcited about things and like overcomplicates things, all of that, but really she's like the only good character in this book is the stepmom, and I'm really hoping our main character will have like a character arc where she learns that her stepmom is actually a good person, because right now she just seems to always be saying how like annoying she is, and that's very annoying to me. So I'm not off to a great start with this book, but it is a really quick read, so hopefully I'll be able to get through the last 300 pages of this relatively quickly. So as for right now, I am going to go wash the dishes, and then I think ABC is having another Disney sing-along. They did one of these a couple weeks ago, and I had an absolute blast watching it, so I'm going to watch that tonight. I think it comes on at 7, and then after that I'm going to dive back into my book. But I also wanted to mention that this week I am going to make it a point of wearing like a Disney outfit every day, which I kind of already do anyway, but this week I'm really going to make a point of doing it and showing you guys. So today I'm actually wearing this Lilo and Stitch t-shirt, which I just got the other day, and I really love it, except that the neckline is like weirdly large, and I feel like it would look almost better as like an off-the-shoulder thing, but that's not really like in style anymore. But it's supposed to look like the original VHS tape, which I love all of those collections at Disney that look like the VHS tapes. I have like all the journals and the pins and everything. So I've got that, and then I'm also wearing these Stitch earrings, which I don't know if you can really see them, but yeah, I'm really happy with my outfit today, and it also feels very summery despite it having snowed yesterday, so that's fun. So it is now day 2 of the readathon, and it is really dreary and raining outside, which in my opinion is like prime reading weather. So I thought I would dress really cozy today and wear my Onward sweatshirt. I love this thing so much. So I am about 185 pages into Along for the Ride, and we're finally kind of getting into like the love interest and our main character actually interacting with each other, but it's not super romancy. Like, this book definitely doesn't have any insta-love in it, but as of right now, but there's also just, I don't feel a lot of chemistry between these two characters. I'm honestly kind of hoping it's not a romance and that they'll just be friends, because I would actually much prefer that with the two characters that we have in here than if they turn into boyfriend and girlfriend, because it just doesn't feel like that. So I'm actually going to put that down for a little while, and because I'm wearing an Onward sweatshirt, I thought I would try and knock out the Onward challenge, which is to read a book with magical creatures in it. So I am going to pick up The Tales of Beetle the Bard, and this is only about like 100 and something pages, and it's like a children's book basically, so the font is really big and there's like a lot of pictures and stuff in it. So this shouldn't take me too long to read this afternoon, and I think I'll probably run some reading sprints while I'm reading this. After dinner, it got a bit too hot for my sweatshirt, so I am now wearing Aladdin, still fitting for the week. But I finished my first read and my first challenge for the readathon, so I read The Tales of Beetle the Bard, and I have very mixed feelings about this book because I basically loved half of it and then hated the other half. So basically all of the stories in here I absolutely loved, and as cheesy as it is, I could totally see myself like reading these to my future children if I ever have them before they go to bed. However, in between each story, or after each story rather, there would be this like commentary from Dumbledore that I just did not care about at all. I completely hated that part of the book, but I loved the stories. So it's a bit of a middle-of-the-road book, but the stories are definitely pushing it towards a higher rating because I did really, really love them, even though I didn't like the parts in between. So that is one book and one challenge completed so far. Now I am just going back to reading this book until I finish it. It is the 12th of May, which makes it day 3 of the readathon. I have just finished reading Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen, and I've got some things to say about this book. But first, today's shirt, we have Save the Bees, brought to you by Winnie the Pooh. I don't know where I was going with that, but I love this shirt. I think it's so cute, even though I really don't like bees and I'm kind of terrified of them. Never been stung by one. Knock on wood. So anyways, I just finished Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen, and this book was right in half. Honestly, this is my fault, and it's kind of hilarious that I used this for the Judge a Book by its Cover challenge, because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that would like look at the cover of this book and think that it's a romance. Turns out it kind of isn't. Like, there's a romance in it, definitely, so I can still use it for the Lady and the Tramp challenge, but I am notorious for judging books by their covers and not reading the synopsis, and I think if I would have read the synopsis, I maybe wouldn't have assumed so much that this was a romance, because there's just not a lot of romance in it. I would consider this to be like a self-discovery kind of story for our main character. So all of the things that I was saying earlier about it like really lacking in the romance, I feel like I can't really like judge it that much because I don't really think it was super meant to be a romance. So that's my own fault. But that doesn't mean that this book wasn't just bad anyway, honestly, no offense. But I didn't like any of the characters in this book. Like, our main character, she started off very judgmental and she did kind of grow out of that by the end of the story, but I still didn't really like her, kind of found her annoying. The love interest was really kind of bland and boring, which is unfortunate, and then her parents, our main character's parents, are just like horrible. I wanted to scream anytime they were written onto this page. So The only good characters were really the stepmom and like some of the friends that she made, but other than that, I didn't really care for any of the characters, and that made it really hard to care for the plot, because if I'm not invested in the characters, I'm not invested in the plot. Like, I don't care what happens to them. So yeah, I didn't really like this book very much. Also, the writing, it had really long chapters, which is definitely just a personal preference thing, and I can't fault it for that. But there was also this weird thing that would happen very often throughout this book, where the author we would be in like a present scene, and then the author would kind of do like a flashback or have the character kind of reminisce about something that like happened earlier in the day or the night before, and I don't know why that was. I didn't understand why the author couldn't just have it written in like chronological order. I don't know why we had to have these weird flashback scenes, and it made it so that I couldn't really skim this book or like speed read it, because if you missed the like one sentence where it's like, and then she remembered earlier in the day, then I'm like, wait, how did we get here? Like, these characters weren't in the scene. Oh yeah, we're having a flashback scene. To give you an example of like how confusing it is, for instance, there's this one part where our main character is talking with her mom, and her mom is like drinking wine, and then the character starts to reminisce about her being with this boy, and suddenly we're like back in a different scene. But then if you miss the line where it suddenly just jumps back to, and her mom took another sip of wine, it's like, then you don't even realize what part of the story you're in. Hopefully that makes sense. That was a bit rambly, but yeah, it just kind of made it very confusing, made it so I couldn't speed read this book, which was a little bit annoying because I wasn't into it at all and I wanted to get through it as quickly as possible. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think I actually liked this even less than the first Sarah Dessen book that I read. So I think we can conclude that Sarah Dessen is just not really the author for me. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this reading vlog up here and start a new one tomorrow. At this point, I have completed 2 books and 3 challenges, so I think I'm doing pretty good so far. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading vlog. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!